Hidden in the shadows of World War II, a secret battle was being fought, one that would never make the headlines, and yet would decide the fate of millions. It wasn't a war of tanks or planes or bombs. It was a war of minds. Across Europe, invisible signals crossed the air. Coded messages, encrypted orders, whispers of strategy that no one could understand. But if someone could break the code, if someone could read what the enemy believed unreadable, then they could change the outcome of the war itself. This is the story of those who did. The story of the codebreakers, the unseen heroes whose intellect, perseverance, and sacrifice helped save the free world. At the dawn of the Second World War, the Allies faced an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Blitzkrieg swept through Europe. France fell. Britain stood alone. And yet, in the midst of chaos, a quiet group of mathematicians, linguists, and puzzle solvers worked in secrecy, chasing an impossible dream: to understand the language of the enemy. Their battleground was not the front line, but the mind. Their weapon, logic. For centuries, spies and generals had used ciphers to hide their messages. But the 20th century introduced something new: machines that could outthink men. And none was more terrifyingly efficient than Germany's Enigma. The Enigma machine was a compact miracle of engineering, a typewriter that turned letters into chaos. Each key press sent an electric current through a maze of rotating wheels called rotors, scrambling the message into nonsense. Every day, the machine's internal settings changed, producing hundreds of trillions of possible combinations. Even if you captured one, you couldn't read its messages unless you knew that day's unique configuration. To the German military, Enigma was unbreakable. To the Allies, it was a nightmare. Early attempts to read Enigma failed. Intercepted messages poured in by the thousands, each an unreadable string of gibberish. Without a breakthrough, every Allied ship, every convoy, every operation remained exposed. Britain's naval losses mounted. Submarines stalked the Atlantic unseen. Defeat seemed inevitable. And yet, even as the bombs fell on London, a different kind of battle began. One fought not with weapons, but with willpower and imagination. In the quiet countryside north of London stood a Victorian mansion, surrounded by gardens and hedges. From the outside, it looked ordinary, perhaps a school or a research institute. But this was no ordinary house. This was Bletchley Park, the nerve centre of Britain's code-breaking operations. Inside its wooden huts, hundreds of people laboured in shifts around the clock, decoding, translating, analysing, all under the highest secrecy. They called the intelligence they produced Ultra. So secret was this work that even generals who used Ultra's information never knew where it came from. At first, Bletchley Park was small, just a handful of brilliant minds. But as the war escalated, so did the operation. By 1945, nearly 9,000 people worked there, 3/4 of them women. Some were mathematicians, some were linguists, others were crossword enthusiasts, recruited from newspaper competitions. All of them were bound by one goal: to break Enigma. The pressure was immense. Each day, thousands of lives depended on the speed of their minds. Every morning brought new keys, new settings, new challenges. It was a race against time, a race they couldn't afford to lose. Among the hundreds working tirelessly at Bletchley Park was Ailsa Maxwell, a young Scottish graduate in economics and history, barely in her 20s when she joined. She wasn't a mathematician or engineer, but her sharp mind and meticulous patience made her invaluable. In Hut 6, she helped decipher intercepted German army communications, carefully piecing together fragments of intelligence that others would later use to reconstruct entire enemy operations. Her work demanded total concentration, secrecy, and long hours under immense pressure. Like many women at Bletchley, she never sought recognition. She simply did her duty, quietly, precisely, and with unwavering resolve, knowing that every code cracked could save lives. Another remarkable figure was Mavis Beatty, a brilliant young linguist who joined Bletchley Park at just 19. Gifted with an intuitive grasp of patterns and logic, she played a decisive role in cracking the Italian naval Enigma in 1941, a breakthrough that directly led to the British victory at the Battle of Cape Matapan. Working tirelessly in Hut 4, Mavis uncovered key message keys that revealed enemy movements and strategies, saving countless lives at sea. She later helped break the code of the Abwehr, the German intelligence service, unraveling the very system meant to protect Nazi spies. Though her achievements remained classified for decades, her quiet genius and determination proved that intellect, not rank or gender, could change the course of a war. Among these minds was a young mathematician from Cambridge, Alan Turing. Brilliant, eccentric, and driven by logic, Turing approached the Enigma problem in a way no one else had. He believed that if the machine could create the code, then another machine could break it. From this idea came a device that would change history, the bombe. The bombe wasn't a computer in the modern sense, but it was its ancestor, an electromechanical brain that could test thousands of Enigma settings at incredible speed. Each day, the bombs clattered in unison, searching for the one configuration that would unlock the German messages. When it worked, when the right combination was found, the results were immediate and extraordinary. Suddenly, Allied commanders could read the enemy's plans almost as soon as they were written. They knew when U-boats would strike in the Atlantic, where German tanks would move in North Africa, even what Hitler's generals were thinking. The tide of war began to turn, not on the battlefield, but in secret rooms filled with wires, charts, and the endless tapping of typewriters. Among the brilliant minds at Bletchley Park was Joan Clark, a mathematician of extraordinary intellect and quiet strength. Working side by side with Alan Turing in Hut 8, she became one of the very few women directly involved in deciphering the German naval Enigma. Her sharp analytical thinking and deep understanding of cryptographic logic made her indispensable to the team's success. Despite the gender barriers of her time, lower pay, limited recognition, and constant underestimation, Joan earned the respect of her peers through sheer brilliance and perseverance. She and Turing formed a close friendship built on mutual admiration, their bond reflecting the deep humanity that existed even amid the machinery of war. Clark's contributions remained shrouded in secrecy for decades, but her legacy endures as a testament to courage, intellect, and quiet defiance in a world that often failed to see her worth. Margaret Rock was one of Bletchley Park's quiet yet indispensable figures, a cryptanalyst whose meticulous mind and mathematical skill played a crucial role in breaking the German naval Enigma. Working in Hut 8 alongside Alan Turing and Joan Clark, she tackled complex patterns and helped manage the intricate logic of the Bombe machines. Though her name is far less known than some of her colleagues, her steady dedication, precision, and insight were vital to the daily success of the code-breaking efforts. Margaret, like so many women at Bletchley, labored in secrecy, never seeking recognition, yet her contributions helped save countless lives and shaped the outcome of the war. As the war progressed, Germany developed an even more advanced system, the Lorenz cipher, used for high-level communications between Hitler and his generals. This code was exponentially more complex than Enigma, and for a time it too seemed unbreakable. Yet Bletchley's codebreakers refused to stop. They built an even more powerful machine, Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer. With Colossus, they could finally read the Lorenz messages, revealing enemy strategies at the highest level. It was a technological revolution, one that quietly paved the way for the modern digital age. The victories of Bletchley Park remained hidden from the public for decades. When the war ended, the codebreakers returned to ordinary lives. They were forbidden to speak about their work, not to their families, not even to each other. The Official Secrets Act bound them to silence. For years, the world never knew how close the Allies had come to disaster, or how a handful of mathematicians and linguists had saved it. Many of the women and men who had served there received no recognition during their lifetimes. Alan Turing himself, though his ideas laid the foundations of modern computing, was persecuted for his sexuality and died in 1954, unacknowledged for his wartime heroism. Only decades later did Britain begin to honor him and the thousands like him who had labored in secret. Historians now estimate that the work of Bletchley Park shortened the war by 2 to 4 years and saved millions of lives. By uncovering U-boat movements, rerouting convoys, and predicting attacks, they prevented untold destruction. Every successful decryption meant soldiers spared, families saved, a war that ended sooner. But perhaps the greatest legacy of all is not only the victory they secured, but the world they made possible afterward. The machines built to crack codes became the ancestors of computers. The logic Turing developed to think about algorithms became the foundation of computer science. The unseen war of the 1940s became the birth of the digital era. Today, when we unlock our phones, encrypt our data, or rely on artificial intelligence, we are walking in the footsteps of those who once sat in wooden huts, listening to the whispers of war. Their machines no longer hum in secret. They live on in every device that connects our modern world. And yet, their greatest lesson is not technological, it's human. The code breakers of Bletchley Park remind us that even in humanity's darkest hours, intellect, collaboration, and courage can change the course of history. They remind us that wars are not only fought with weapons, but with ideas, and that the greatest victories are often the quietest ones.